But now, it's coming up on 5:15, and we have a Gene Shepard episode coming your way, this time by request. I got an email the other day, fellow wanting to know, when are you going to play July 25th, 1975? Because I remember that show. And I said, listen, pal, out of the 1,000 or more programs, I should, when am I going to play that one? Yeah. And then I thought about it, and I said, well, how about this week? Why not? I checked the sound quality. Some of the shows from the last years are not in great fidelity, but this one's okay, and I remastered it nonetheless from my master tape. And it doesn't have too many commercials, the way a lot of those shows from this era do. So why not? And it's one of those stories you all seem to love, of his Shepard and his childhood pals, Flick and Schwartz and Bruner. And this one is about Flick not having quite enough money to afford a good solid set of General tires. So let's see what happens. No, I've been doing a little research also. At the beginning, you'll hear the tail end of the news that precedes the program. You'll even hear the voice of the guy who taped it. But there's a rather cryptic headline about tragic day in New York. Horrible news for New York, and I've been looking. I can't find out what was so horrible on July 25th, 1975. If you've got a clue, call me, 212-209-2900. Otherwise, it's always a tragic day in New York. Here's Shepard. This is Mass Backwards, WBAI, New York.
July 25th, 1975.
These top stories in the news at this hour, a real bad day for the Big Apple. Concern for the health of the 3 Apollo astronauts. Mixed reaction to President Ford's compromise energy bill. This is Lester Smith reporting. Next news as it happens. Next scheduled news at 11 o'clock over WOR Radio 710, the talk of New York. And let's join Gene Shepard.
Fans, the next 45 minutes will prove to be, to all of you asparagus fans, highly illuminating, exciting, and deeply rewarding. And so tonight we salute the asparagus. Last night, you'll recall, it was the radish. And the night before that, the pomegranate. And tonight we salute, in all of its majestic greenness and glory, the magnificent asparagus. Gee, I'm sorry to have to report before we get into tonight's salute to the world of the asparagus. Do you realize that today, of course, I felt for a long time, and I think you'll agree with me, Al, that the universal elixir of our time is beer. Beer makes the wheels of progress go round. I mean, where would sport be without beer? I mean, it's a fact. There would be no NFL. We owe it to beer. There would be no American League, certainly no National League, which operates primarily on beer. And no telling what our society would be like if there wasn't those little cans with the little pop-top things on the, we have tonight a kind of a sad little note here. Do you realize that the beer is now being used to subvert the insect population among us, these poor little things that live with us here and hardly ever get credit. There's no pickets out picketing on behalf of the horsefly, and yet they're getting swatted constantly, stepped on and yelled at. And now what's more, they're being undone by beer. San Bernardino, California, beer heavily laced with insecticide is proving to be the most effective way to reduce the horsefly population around the poultry ranches in San Bernardino County. Poor little fly. According to the county health, all he wants is a little beer, and the next thing you know, according to the county health department, previous efforts to suppress the horsefly department, including the introduction of wasps that eat the flies,
just failed. And then a county sanitation executive noticed that the flies seemed to prefer beer cans to regular garbage. They love them beer cans. Well, this is true of almost every good walking around citizen of our time. So today, the department is encouraging people to fight flies by placing open containers of beer around with about 2 inches of beer inside, heavily laced with insecticide. And it's really working. The department said the flies are dying like flies. And what's worse, they don't seem to mind much. I mean, after, a couple of big swallows of... I don't know what we're doing to the world around us, Al. I really don't. Thank God. It's just bad. You know what's going to happen now, They're going to start showing porny movies to the chickens. And, to increase the egg production. Oh, God, we're messing around with things we better not be messing around with. And I'd like to salute tonight, speaking of California, where all the nuttiness is coming from these days. I'm sorry. It just, I don't know. I don't know. A guy just tries to do his best, and it just keeps happening to him. I'd like to salute Keith Stoller of San Carlos, California. He collected some fireworks for celebrating his 24th birthday. But police wondered tonight just how big the celebration would be. He just went out and got some fireworks, celebrated his birthday. Poor son of a gun. Stoller's collection contained 10,240 firecrackers, 41 giant skyrockets, 4 bags of cherry bombs, 54 Roman candles, 288 bottle rockets, and 36 boxes of snake fireworks. Patrolman Robert Hermanson said it was, we quote, the largest fireworks haul in the country's history. Now he's in the slam. All he wanted to do was celebrate. It's all he wanted to do. Poor little flies. That's all they want to do. And poor Stoller, you just ain't going to go nowhere. I'm sorry. I have to straighten up here. I don't like displays of public emotion. And poor damn little flies. I have a letter here. I'm just going to have to bring out in the open. It says, Dear Shepard, your story about the Army and the pronunciation of oblique has aroused some controversy. Our resident authority has thoughts other than yours. He is our social studies teacher. His credentials, ex-Marine, member of the 1st Marine Brigade, personally wiped out half the Japanese Empire, fought at Guadalcanal, Tarawa, and other assorted fantastic battles, now belongs to every known veterans organization, black belt in self-defense, firm believer in the late J. Edgar Hoover, hates communism, in fact breaks out in a rash when the word is mentioned. His radar hearing overheard our conversation about the story, and he says the Marines always said oblique, not oblique. That's quite probably true. The Marines were always considered a curious outfit by the rest of the armed forces. I'm not going to argue with him. That's probably true in the Marines. That's right. We had names for the Marines, Yes, Jarhead was one of our favorite ones. And he's not going to argue with you, kid, about that. Just say, hey, Jarhead, watch what he does. Off we go into the wild blue yonder. Incidentally, obviously, he was in the armed forces well before my time. And they probably, in those early days, did pronounce the word oblique. But later, more progressive organizations began to pronounce it oblique, as it is still pronounced today in the armed services. So there, social studies teacher. You stick there with the American Legion. That's your style. Off we go into the wild blue yonder. La-la-tee-tee-tee-tee. Before we go any further, may I lay a General Tire spot on you guys? Oh, my God, I love these. It's time to sing the national anthem, gang, so get behind it now. Someday you'll own. Someday you'll own. Yeah. Sooner or later, you'll own Generals. Oh. Now, through July 26th, you can get 2 of General Tire's great radial tires at low sale prices. Get the 40,000-mile dual steel 2 radio for 25% off the regular price, or regular price if you live in Jersey, regular. And the Sprint Jet for only $24.95 for sizes 155 SR12 and 145 SR13 tubeless black walls. Yes, sir. See them at Nassau, Suffolk, General Tire, 154 Front Street in lovely Hempstead, Long Island. And sing it out. Sit on a on later, you long generals. Ho, 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 ho. Sooner or later, I say, you long generals. Ho, ho. That reminds me of a story, you know, these are fine tires. They really are, seriously. And, you know, a lot of guys, like a friend of mine, they'll get a catalog in the mail. It says special, big, fantastic, 2-month only, special clearance sale, special purchase. And underneath it says, we cannot tell the manufacturer's name because of the fantastic markdowns we're giving you on these tires. If we told you the name of this tire company, we'd be sued out of business. Have you ever seen an ad like that? Well, a buddy of mine, by name of Flick, decided one day that he needed a set of new rubber for his V8. You know, he had this angry Ford, you know, had 495 horsepower under the hood, and every time he'd step on a gas at the light, you know, wow! You know, it'd be a big cloud of burnt rubber behind him. He thought that was groovy, see? Well, that gave him an average life expectancy for a set of tires of maybe 7 or 8 blocks. And, you know, so Flick, he decided he's going to take advantage of this special offer, which he got in the catalog. And he got this catalog in the mail. Says, we cannot, at the cost of losing our license, we'd be driven out of business. We'd be sued from here to Siberia and back if we told you the name of this top-ranked tire manufacturer who will manufacture these fantastic tires, and they're putting these on the market as a special introductory offer. And only we are allowed to sell them at this fantastic rate of $7.50 for tires which you ordinarily pay $40 a piece for. We cannot even, because this manufacturer is so well known and the markdown is so fantastic, we cannot even allow you the ordinary warranty that goes with these fantastic tires. Take them or leave them, men. Sale while they last. All tire sizes available now, only now. So he ran down and took his life savings, which came to roughly $37.50. He took his life savings down and he ordered himself a set of rubber. And he could hardly wait. He was the only guy in our neighborhood to actually own new tires on his car. The way I got tires when I had my car, you know how the average walking around guy that works on cars gets his tires out? What you do is you go to the junkyard, see, and they bring in all these wrecks, thousands of wrecks every day. They're brought in, little old ladies with the blue hair, with the 24,000 vision, who have just driven their Buick into a safety island, wiped out an entire shopping center. Before they even knew they hit anything, they'd left a swath of destruction halfway through the state of New Jersey. So, and then they got out and says, what's all that banging in the back of the car? The whole state is in flames behind them. So, anyway, they bring these... Oh, I've seen that happen more than once. So they bring these hulks in, and, guys like, for example, we had this guy called the Smiling Greek. And, it was a great junkyard, the Smiling Greek. One thing he never did was smile. And it was a funny thing. He was the only Greek I ever knew named Saul. But nevertheless, he was called the Smiling Greek. So we would always go down to the Smiling Greek, see, and he had a giant mountain of tires. It looked like, roughly like he'd just lopped off one of the Catskills, somewhere near the middle there. And he brought this, it was a Catskills made out of nothing but old tires, which he took off these junkers. And he had them piled up all conceivable sizes. So you'd go in there, you'd talk to the Smiling Greek. He'd be sitting back of his little wooden desk that had all these marks all over it, of burnt cigar butts and all that stuff. And he's sitting back there in this little shack in the middle of this giant junkyard. By the way, now he's a trillionaire and owns 2/3 of the Caribbean. I mean, that's a business, man. We used to feel sorry for the old Smiling Greek, down there selling busted camshafts, for 60 cents. So, nevertheless, we would go down there on a Saturday, see. And since the tires on my car were always... at times, I have had tires so transparent on my car that one could very easily read the editorial page of the Chicago Tribune on the other side of the tire. You could read it right through the tire with the light right, So, I mean, it was, in fact, I've had, they say you put a boot in the tire when you get a bad scuff, and you get a bad blister and you put a boot in the tire. That for over 3 months, I drove on 2 back tires that were completely made out of boots. that the original tire had long since disappeared, and it was a bunch of boots that were all, glued together with that stuff, see? Oh, yeah, that was funny. This is WOR New York, and speaking of funny things, here are some commercials.
Until now, you had to visit Europe to discover why European cruising sets the standard for the world. But now, that superb attention, elegance, and passenger comfort is under the Caribbean. I'm George Clemson. Starting September 14th, Norwegian America Line Saga Fjord begins a unique series of 1- and 2-week cruises from Port Glades, Florida, to a select group of highly interesting ports of call. That gives you time to enjoy more of the shipboard life you take a cruise for, and still take in all the sightseeing and low-cost Caribbean shopping you wish. Most of all, you bask in service that is always attentive, never overbearing, the kind that Europeans take for granted. Sail on the Norwegian-registered Saga Fjord this fall and discover a new standard in Caribbean cruising.
Cruise with Norwegian America Line from Florida. They'll pay your one-way economy airfare or a $50 bonus if you live in Florida. Call your travel agent for a touch of yesterday today.
Hey, ever tried good Japanese food? If you would like to really give it a whirl, I would suggest Benihana of Tokyo. They have shrimp and steak and chicken that's prepared and cooked right at your table. If you ever had good Japanese food, you know what that's all about. And they really know how to use those knives. And it's great to watch and fantastic to eat, particularly the chicken. Benihana, Benihana of Tokyo. And their restaurants are located at 56th Street between Park and Lex, on 56 between 5th and the Avenue of the Americas, and at 15 West 44th Street, just off 5th Avenue. So give it a whirl. It's great Japanese food, and if you've never tried Japanese food, here's your chance to do it right. Benihana of Tokyo.
A short time ago, the people of Switzerland discovered a new beverage called X-Beer. X-Beer tasted like the great beers they were used to, but there was something unique about it. Unique because the brewers of X-Beer went one step further than anyone else. They took the alcohol out after X-Beer was brewed. To the Swiss, X-Beer was worth trying because there were times when they didn't want alcohol, when they had to drive somewhere, when they had work they wanted to finish, and simply because taking out the alcohol took out 60% of the calories. Well, the Swiss tried X-Beer and they liked it. Liked it so much, in fact, that you'll see it all over Switzerland today and in Germany as well, where beer is the national drink. If you'd like to try X-Beer, it's now available right here in town. The very same X-Beer with no alcohol and 60% fewer calories. X-Beer. E-X-B-I-E-R.
X-Beer, the non-alcoholic malt beverage imported by Package Distributors of America. For more information, call 247-4900.
Fly Aeromexico, the airline of Mexico to Mexico soon. Aeromexico, Aeromexico. Aeromexico, the airline that takes you to Mexico City and on to Acapulco on El Grande, our wide-body DC-10. Aeromexico, Aeromexico. Aeromexico is the only airline to offer you first-run movies as well as stereophonic music on your flight down to Mexico City. And to make your trip even better, Aeromexico has over 1,000 Aeromexico quality-approved tours to Mexico. There's bound to be one just for you. See your travel agent or call Aeromexico, the airline of Mexico, and fly with us soon.
Off we go into the wild blue. But I was telling you about the tires, wasn't I? Yeah, all right. I don't want to, take away your fun. So we used to go down to the, I didn't intend to tell you a story about tire stuff, but doing the General Tire spot, I suddenly, it hit me. But, the tires are always a big hang-up if you're, involved in cars, especially if you're a kid, This is a serious situation. The tire, and you never hear Norman Mailer writing about the tire trauma. No way. You think that Philip Roth knows anything about going down to the friendly, smiling Greeks to look for... No way. Get out. They don't know. They don't even know there's round things on the bottom of the cabs they ride in. They're called tires. They think tired is something that happens to your blood when you don't have enough Geritol. But we know better. We know that tires can cause terrible traumas. Terrible. Oh, listen, I have lost I have lost some fantastic opportunities. I'll never forget, you talk about tires. It can be crucial in your life. One night, I'm on a date, see? And I am zeroing in on this chick for about 7 months, man. I've been really zeroing in. See, you have to approach certain types of women like you're approaching the rare Canadian geese. The frontal approach does not work. You don't just jump up and, hey, geese, here, come on over here, I want to shoot you. No way. The goose does not react well to that. On the other hand, the rhino does. You jump up out of the weeds and say, hey, rhino, here I am, come on over and shoot. He's going to come over. He'll come over like hell, with flames coming out of his nostrils. Now, see, that if you're interested in that kind of a woman, that's something else. But there's certain types that are like fluttering butterflies, clinging to a delicate twig over a soft elfin sylvan pool. You got to approach them with delicacy, right, Al? You know this is Al. You do know that, absolutely. So I've been circling around this baby for about 8 months, slowly making the circles tighter as I'm closing in, until finally I maneuvered her in the front seat of my Ford. And, 2, maybe 3 weeks go by. You don't even make any move at that point. You just, take her to the big boy hamburger joint. You do nothing except discuss hamburgers and things like that. Take her to a 3 drive-in. You actually watch the movie, which is a fantastic twist. And all of this goes to prove that your credentials are impeccable, and that your motives are only the highest aesthetic motives. It's the only way. Well, after all this time, weeks upon weeks of this, I finally said, say, would you like to see a little of the countryside? I know a place where I can share the countryside. It's about 2 a.m, and I'm driving down this road, which I knew about, which was a very private road, see, where you could look at the country and other things, see. We go about 2.5 feet into this road, and all of a sudden, oh, my God. Of all the times, my left rear one goes out with a crash. I mean, it was the kind of blowout that sends pieces of rubber over 1/4 of a mile of territory around you. Kaboom! Woo! Well, that killed the evening. From that time on, I wasn't even interested. I knew what was going to happen. I knew what I had to do at that point. My spare, what a joke. My spare. I had a spare that would go flat while I was fixing it. That kind of a spare, It was just a whole series of nail holes held together with glue. That spare, So I got out of the car. I said, oh, God, no. And at that point, it started to rain. Well, now, had it been raining before I got the flat, it would have been cozy. I said, I was going to take you to walk down the riverfront there, but due to the fact that it's raining, we're going to have to sit here in the weeds and look out at the river from inside the car, and it's getting kind of cold in here, so you ought to sit kind of close to me, and, no way. It's raining. I'm out in the back trying. Have you ever tried to jack up the back of a 27,000-pound 18th hand Ford with a $2.75 used jack that was originally designed for what looked like small Austins? And it's sink in grass and sand. I don't mean concrete. The jack keeps going down the ground. Well, that was the last time I saw her. I mean, we parted, incidentally, with mutual agreement, because she got madder and madder in the front seat of the car, kept hollering out. She kept hollering out, would you please hurry? It's getting late. Please hurry. By that time, I had no fingernails. I finally got enough rocks under the jack to get the car up, at which point 3 of the rocks slipped out. The car fell heavily down on the axle. Now I had to dig out from under the axle to get the jack in there again, to get it back up to the surface of the ground. Oh, I don't even want to go on. It went on and on and on. I finally got the spare on. I lowered the car down on the spare, and as it lowered down, it just kept going down. The spare went shh. Now I got 2 flats. Well, I can only say that many a life has been changed by a flat tire. Now, had I not had a flat tire that particular night, no telling what might have happened with me because I'll tell you what finally did occur. That very same girl married a friend of mine. It turns out that she was a fantastic, unbelievably diligent nester. And it's hard to believe, but within 1 year of their marriage, they had 8 children. At least it seemed like 8. Within 2 years of the marriage, her mother has moved into the house, and her father is living out on the front porch of their house. 3 years later, her brother is now living in the garage, which they have fixed up as a playroom for him. 32 years old, he needed a playroom. And at last reports, my friend, well, I don't even want to go into that, you know, he went through the whole scene. Alcoholism, he got nervous, he took up crocheting, he told her he wasn't interested in girls anymore, moved to the village. The whole thing, see, it all came about. Now, had I not, you know, I think what a great that was a pivotal flat in my career. Who could have known what might have happened, you know? So I don't want to go into that. That's a sickening story, you know. So flat tires can do it to you, but on this particular occasion, you want to hear what happened to Flick. This is an object lesson to you guys out there. So our ordinary way of getting tires was to go down to the Smiling Greek. See, we'd walk in, say, "Hi, Sal." And he never talked because he had this big cigar that would stick out right out of the middle of his face. So he couldn't open his mouth. If he did, the cigar would fly out, you know. And he was always chewing on what looked like a hamburger at the same time. So we would come in, and he's got this crummy-looking hat pulled down with buttons all around the top of it, see, and stubble. They looked like a toad, see. And we would walk up to Sal's little office there. We'd say, "Hey, Sal." He'd go like that, and a cloud of this black smoke would come on. "Hey, Sal, we're going back and look for tires, okay?" And that's all, see? It meant, okay, go on back and look for tires. So we would go back through this junkyard, fantastic junkyard, you know, it stretched about 4 miles. To those of you who've never been in a real first-class junkyard, you are missing a true aesthetic experience. You agree with that? It is really an experience. And a lot of people have never been. You, Lee, the first time you were in a junkyard was when we were shooting parts of Gene Shepard's America, the TV series, and you flipped in that junkyard. Well, you can understand the basic lure of a junkyard. I mean, it's first of all, you see all these dramas. You go back there and you see a $12,000 Jaguar that apparently has been sat upon by an elephant. And you can even see a little elephant dung on the top. You wonder, what the hell happened? And you ask the guy, what happened to him? I don't know. I just draw it in. I pull it in here. I bought it, you know, for the tires. And that's all, you know. You're surrounded by human drama all around you. Also, a lot of great junk. If you like junk, you're surrounded by a lot of stuff, see? So, yeah, you wouldn't believe what you can find in a junkyard. So, in the back of the Smiling Greek's junkyard was this Catskill mountain of tires. Stretched all. It was so high, by the way, they had to put red lights on the top of it for the airport approach. Yeah, and you had to use ropes and stuff and the climbing axes to climb to the top of this mountain. It was like climbing Mount Everest, and guys would fall off a crevasse, not be heard of in years. In fact, if you fell, you could drop right into a hole in the tires. You'd be buried in the mountain. They never find you. So we would climb up the side of the mountain looking for the size of tires we needed. Well, now that was exciting because you find unbelievable types of tires. I mean, the kind of tires that must have been used on, say, exotic things like amphibious submarines, that had flaps on the side of them and water wings that came out, You'd find great stuff, see. So we're climbing up there all day long. It must be a whole day, operation, see, looking up and down for the tires. And finally, you would find 2 tires, or maybe 3, that were your size. Now, you would always find more than what you needed. That's for bargaining purposes. You do not want to let Smiling Saul, the friendly Greek, you do not let him know which tire you want. That because the minute he knows what tire you're really wanting, that's the one that's going to be 5 times more expensive than all the others. See, so we finally see you have to learn these little tricks when you're in life. So we climb up to the top, me and Schwartz and our guys were looking for tires, and dirty and smelly. Oh, there's nothing like the smell of a giant mountain of fermenting old tires. That has a pungency, and it's just great. So we climb up to the top, and I would get 2 or 3 tires, see? And I'd come crawling down the mountain with these tires. And you'd roll them. So you'd roll them down up to the shack. And remember, there was a protocol. First of all, the smiling Greek would never come out of his shack. You had to bring the stuff to him. He would never walk out. How do you think I am, huh? Yeah, bring the radiator to here. Bring it down to the shack. We'll look at it. And bring the radiator car back around here. Me and Stan will look at it. Well, we bring the tires down, and then you would take the tire in see, you have to be very careful with them. So you would take the tire in that you had no desire to own. No desire to own. You'd roll it in, and you'd bounce it a couple of times. You'd say, hey, Sal! And he'd look out at it, boom. Yeah, what do you want? Say, hey, Sal, how about this 616 here? He'd look out. Said, a lot of rubber on it. Say, yeah, well, that's why I want it. $5. Why, ridiculous. Ridiculous. First of all, what you didn't tell Sal was that your car did not use 616s. It used 550-15s. See? You'd say, $5? Oh, come on. A lot of rubber on it, kid. Take it or leave it. Well, that was the way Sal worked. Take it or leave it, see? So you had to work around it. Then you would run around the other side of the shack, see, and he never came out, see, so you get away with it. You run around the other side of the shack, like pretending that you're gone, see, for like another 20 minutes to get a tire. Then you come back out, see. This time, you have got the tire that you want. Remember that, see. And you come bouncing it out. This is the one with the boots in it, see. You know, this is the only one you can afford, see. It's got boots in it, you know, it's got vulcanized spots and everything's been retreaded 8 times. So you bring it around the front and say, hey, Sal, how about this one? I want this one just for the sidewalls. What I'm going to do is cut this one up and use it on the side of the boat. How about this one? He'd look out, see, he was always suspicious, but he realizes, see, that this is a different size than the one you got before. He says, that's the wrong size. So, well, I don't care what size it is. What is it, 550, 15? So it looks like that. I don't care what size. I'm going to cut it up. I'm going to use it on the side of the dock. That'll be, let me take a look at that thing, kid. It's got some rubber on it. Well, yeah, Sal, that's what I want. I just want I want to put nails to it, you know, on the side of the dock. I want to use it for a bumper, you know, down at the dock. That'd be $1.50. Well, now, see, the thing is, if you had said, yeah, at that point, he'd say, wait a minute, I want to take a look at that. So you say, oh, that's too much, Sal. He'd say, well, take it or leave it, kid. Now, see, you have really made it. Now, you've got a $5 tire for $1.50, at which point you leave. See, so I don't want it. Because you don't want him to come running out, see, changing his story. So then you go back and you get the other 616. You got another 616, which you roll out. You say, hey, listen, my left rear is going bad on a Ford. How about this one, Sal? Well, he remembers you brought another. See, now he thinks this is the size you need. See, at which point he says the same thing. There's a lot of rubber on that, kid. A lot of rubber. I was saving that for my sister. My sister uses 660. I want to sell that. That'll be it. Let me tell you. I couldn't let that go. No less than $8. Then you say, oh, come on. You're out of your mind, Sal. The hell with you. He said, well, take it or leave it, kid. At which point, then, you grab the 550-15 and say, well, I'll just take this old junker then. The hell with you. I'll buy my tires down at Frank's. Well, Frank was his deadly rival. He had the junkyard down by the river, see. Evil Frank, he was called among all of his best customers because nobody ever actually bought anything from Evil Frank, but you always threatened Sal that you would. So you'd say, I'll get my tires at Frank's. Well, go ahead, take it or leave it. I don't give a damn. Come on. Well, you'd give him the $1.50, and you'd look real mad. But actually, inwardly, of course, you had achieved a great victory. And had he known that you would immediately run out and put this tire on your left rear and say, that would have been at least 5 bananas. So you got a $1.50 tire. Well, that was the kind of tires that we all drove on. Oh, me, Flick, Schwartz, Frank Paswinski, the whole crowd. See, Bolus, the whole gang. Well, you can imagine we got a lot of practice in changing tires. We got very good. I mean, when you drive that type of tire, the steady thunder, the steady drum fire of blowouts accompanied every trip where we made, wherever we went. But that was all right. See, at least we could go, except once in a while one would blow up completely, just scatter the tire over miles. At that point, it would take you maybe 2 or 3 days to just reassemble the tire from the bushes and hanging in the trees, and then, gluing it back together and all. So we got a lot of very good practice. I can really change tires. You have no idea. You've seen me change tires. I one time changed tires on a friend's Peugeot up in Canada one day, and we didn't even have to stop the car. Car was rolling all the time. I changed the tire. That's changing tires. It's like the kind of work you do in the Indianapolis pits, So, out of the car, you're running, just before the tire's even completely fat. It's, it's not even flat yet. It's you're out, you got it off, you got the other one on, and the motor is still, the guy's still got it in second gear, and you go, Takes skill. Practice. That's the only thing. Practice, kid. You cannot learn to change tires by reading a book. And you cannot learn about sex by reading Dr. Rubin. The only thing that works is practice. Practice, practice, practice. Stick with it. Practice. That's what pays off, right, Al? In every field. You want to learn to play the fiddle? You don't read a book on it. You practice. You want to learn to play the Jew's harp? No book's going to tell you. Practice. Changing tires, love's all the same. So, nevertheless, Flick, on this historic day, Flick on this historic day sent his entire life fortune. I mean, it included 2 inheritances. It included all the money he had saved from his paper route for the past year and a half. It included the money that he got, the time that he sold the generator that he stole down at Saul's. All of it. It was all there, And he sent it off to this cockamamie outfit that had this catalog. You remember what the catalog said to him? That's right. The catalog said, if we ever told you the name of this manufacturer, believe me, our license would be lifted, but because they were overstocked on certain sizes and they wish to introduce them to the public, we now make available at only $7.80 an absolutely new, fantastic, beautiful, unwarranted tire, which will give you thousands of miles of trouble-free driving. And it has the new crosshatch double whammy suction thread. The tread, the one that'll grip the road like an armadillo's claws. That picture, You've seen those ads, right, friend? Well, Flick said it is a life savings, and it says they would be shipped out by Railway Express. And we were excited because he was the first guy in our entire crowd that made a major step forward in his life. There wasn't one kid in our entire crowd that had ever owned or even contemplated owning a new tire. Now that is a step forward. So at this, now wait a minute, I have to explain something to you. A lot of you are going to say, oh, they must have come from all these poor families. No, it was a matter of principle. It was a matter of principle. We put old rotten tires on our cars because that's the way the principle was. The least amount you spent on tires, the better, And also, that's one of the reasons why we became so adept at gas siphoning. We all could have bought gas now and again, but it was the thrill of the chase. The excitement of sticking that rubber hose into the back of a Pontiac. And, taking that first big, deep drag. And getting so good at it that you didn't get more than, maybe a pint and a half in your lungs every time you gave it a shot, I got so good at gas siphoning that I could tell you the brand name of the gas by the taste. I could tell you whether it was Texaco, whether it was Shell, whether it was Phillips 66. By the way, my favorite gas, now that you ask me, my favorite gas, from the standpoint of its piquant after flavor, from the standpoint of its elegant after-dinner excellence, it's a fine capping off of a meal of big boy hamburgers down at Eddie's Diner. You cap it off with a little pint and a half of you know what my favorite is? You're curious? White Amico has an elegant after-dinner flavor. It's got a nice, dry piquancy. Texaco tends to be a little sweet. Old ladies would prefer that. People who like Manischewitz wine and that sort of thing, they would prefer Texaco. It's got a sweet, kind of a taste. But the kids among us like. The Schwartz, for example, like Texaco. Yes. So, nevertheless, I don't know why I'm burdening you with all these. You like this kind of esoterica? Well, Flick, at this point, see, decided that he was going to forge ahead. There's always one guy in every crowd, and I don't care whether it's the office or what, the avant-garde man, the one who forges ahead, grabs life by the horns, and wrestles it to the ground, takes off. One guy out of the crowd will go on to become the movie producer. He will go on to own Beverly Hills, California, and the rest of the kids in the crowd will work at the bowling alley, right? You've noticed that? Well, Flick was that type. And he was always the leader. So when Flick decided to buy 4 new tires, this was an announcement which he made to us. It was almost it stunned us. It was a stunning concept. I mean, it really was a stunning concept. It would be like if some guy named Aki, who works down at Christie's at the second machine on the end, on the checkout counter over in Flushing, Queens somewhere. If he were to come in one day and announce to his fellow workers, "Hey, you guys, come over here. Got something to say." And they'd come over and say, "Well, what is it, Aki, huh?" Like, "What's the story, Jerry?" You've seen that commercial. "What's the story, Aki?" "Well, I'll tell you guys. Bought myself a 70-foot Hatteras cabin cruiser. And I'm moving to Barbados. Bought myself a 14-room condominium down there." Well, now that would be a pretty exciting announcement, wouldn't it? That would. I mean, it would be a stunned silence for a moment, yes. Well, when Flick, we were sitting around over at John's one day, just preparatory to going down to the Red Rooster. Flick says, casually, he dropped it. "Oh, I say, could you guys help me next Saturday?" And Flick's, looking around. Schwartz is doing what? We figure, it's our usual thing, siphoning gas for Flick's big weekend, or, stealing a wheel or something, see? He said, "Could you get your old man's pickup truck, Schwartz? Got to go down to the Railway Express office down there." Schwartz says, "What for?" "Picking up a set of new tires that are being shipped in down there Saturday." My God. Stunned silence. And Schwartz says, "New tires? You mean your old man's getting new tires on the Pontiac?" "Oh, no, not the old man. Hell, I'm putting them on the Ford. I ordered them. I finally got tired of all this business, with the boots, and I got tired of, I decided to get a set of new tires with the suction grip armadillo tread. And well-known tires. I can't tell you guys what the name of the tires are because it would get us all in jail, but great tires. Would you guys help me?" Well, what the devil. So that Saturday, we're there on tap, and we go down to the place, and sure enough, this great big cardboard crate with all kinds of tags all over it. Say, "Boy, wait a ton. 4 tires?" It is Flick's tires. We put them in the back of Schwartz's old pickup truck. We drive the truck back to Flick's garage, and the guys get the knife. They open the thing out, and you could smell the smell of the tires, and out came these 4 beautiful-looking tires. Oh, 4. They had a strange name. A name that sounded like all the other tire companies' names you ever heard of. Actually, the name was something like Acme Ace Dynatread. With the safety grip armadillo tread. And they had an armadillo claw or something on the side of them. See, painted in gold letters. Oh, great! And Flick rushes out, he gets his jack, and for the next 20 minutes, we're putting new tires on. It was a great experience, We put the new tires, they were in the right. So Flick drives down the driveway. He drives down, and we're all sitting in the car saying, "Gee, it's great," because we had gotten so used to the the thumps that your car makes when you got all those boots, and Flick's car goes along just smooth as a baby's behind. We drive along. We come up to the light, say, Flick's favorite light. And by the way, the pavement at that point, Flick's favorite light, this is where he always showed off with this chick that lived in the house right by the place there, was just black with rubber from Flick's previous exhibitions of driving skill and masculinity. And so we arrive at that point, the light is red, and Flick sees this guy next to us. There was a guy comes cooling up, and he's got a, you could just see, he's got more horsepower under the hood, this guy, some guy, looking out at Flick, and these 2 guys are sitting there, and they're waiting. See, the light changes. Flick says, "Watch me clobber this guy with these armadillo treads."
Wow. We go like that, see, and all of a sudden we hear bumping like hell. The Schwartzes, stop! Hold it, Schwartz! And we stop. Flick's car limps off to the side, and there were 4 long strips of 3/4-inch rubber laying behind us. These tires flew apart. The tread peeled off like the top of a sardine can. I never saw anything like it. He didn't burn them off, they just peeled off. And they peeled off in one chunk. It was fantastic. And here were these 9-foot long lengths of rubber behind us. Thick rubber. There was about 4 of them, you know. And Schwartz says, I never saw anything like it. And Flick got out, and his face is white. And Schwartz says, oh, boy, send them back. I mean, you must, tell him that, you got a guarantee on him, right? Flick says, well, he's unwarranted tires because of the famous manufacturer's name. They would not allow that to be used, and they could not give a warranty at such a great savings. Flick's life savings are gone. And we stood there. Around Flick's poor old car. And at that point, we learned a lesson, each one of us, which we never forgot. And this is the best argument I know in favor of going down to your General Tire dealer. Doing the real thing, Fred. I mean, cut out the fooling around. Oh, this is
WBAI.
You stay tuned for In Conversation, you hear?
So the whole show was one crummy commercial there, and we still don't know what the great tragedy was that happened in New York on July 25th, 1975. Ford didn't tell New York to drop dead until October of that year, but I bet it was related to that. At any rate, Gene Shepard, July 25, 1975, which brings Mass Backwards to an overdue conclusion. I'm Max Schmeed. We'll join you next week right here, same time, same station. Golden Age Radio preempted this week will return on Mother's Day, May 8th. See you then. Stay tuned for Wake Up Call. It follows immediately after a few vital announcements.